Greetings, everybody. My name is Tommy the Keyblade Master, and welcome to my channel. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a game called Grabbed by the Ghoulies. And all I can say is I'd rather be grabbed by my ghoulies than have to play this again. Or on second thought, I wish I could say that about this game. It would make a more interesting review. Grabbed by the Ghoulies kind of falls into the same trap as Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I reviewed several months ago. A game that's not fundamentally broken to where it's unpleasant to play, but at the same time, it's just cookie cutter boring that just isn't any fun to play through. It's average at best, and it strives for mediocrity. And when you consider that this is on the Rare Collection, that's saying something. It is definitely the most disappointing game on the collection. Next to Gunfight, of course. The story in Grabbed by the Ghoulies is average at best. Basically, it takes the good old 1980s video game cliché of girlfriend gets kidnapped and then throws in a haunted house to the mix. And we've seen these haunted houses before. Basically, you play a young boy named Cooper, who you and your girlfriend get lost in the woods, come across an old house. Cooper doesn't want to go in, instead decides to go to the next village. However, because he decides not to go in, he pisses off the Baron of the house, who decides to kidnap his girlfriend. Now Cooper has to go through the mansion and find his girlfriend and do a whole bunch of other stuff. There are no real cutscenes. There's these comic book type things that tell the story, and then basic text for whenever any dialogue happens. It's not exactly a really fun way to experience the story. There's one or two good jokes, but it's far from Rare's trademark humor that we saw in the likes of Banjo-Kazooie. Overall, the story in Grabbed by the Ghoulies is just basic, and it does very little with the haunted house environment, to the point that I'd rather be playing Haunted House than playing Grabbed by the Ghoulies. And if you don't understand the reference, Haunted House was an old Atari 2600 game, and I believed it had more fun and depth than this game, and that's saying something for an Atari 2600 game. Graphically, the game holds up pretty well and looks pretty nice, and I'm not kidding. Despite all the other flaws in this game, the graphics still look pretty good. I don't know if Microsoft did anything as far as updating the graphics when it comes to Xbox One and 1080p and all that, but even if it's not in high def, it still looks pretty good, and the cel-shaded graphics and character designs still hold up. In fact, I enjoy some of the goofier looking enemies in this game, and it fits the environments, which, although somewhat generic, I still kind of like. Overall, the graphics in this game are not the problem. It comes with the core gameplay, which I'll get to in the moment. But first, it's onto the sound, and what can I say about the music and the sound in this game, other than the fact that they're boring? The music is just standard haunted house stuff. It's not memorable. It doesn't stick with you at all. And then you get some basic sound effects and some basic monster groans. Nothing in this game when it comes to the soundtrack screams originality, and it's definitely far from what Rare had in its past games. In fact, I would say Banjo-Kazooie's scary levels, like its haunted house, had much more in the way of memorable soundtracks and scary sound effects than what you get in the entire package of Grabbed by the Ghoulies. Now it's time to talk about the gameplay finally, and what can I say about it other than it's repetitive and boring? Basically, the idea is that you have this huge house to explore and missions to accomplish. However, if you're thinking that this game will ever let you explore this big house on your own and that you have to figure things out in like a dungeon-esque environment, you would be so wrong. The game constantly holds your hands, only the correct doors are open, and when a door closes, which happens every time you enter a room, you have only a few minutes to figure out this room's puzzle. Usually you have to defeat so many enemies in so short a time using only whatever weapons are available, pretty much. If you screw something up, you can summon the Reaper, and if he touches you, you die. And it repeats this pattern over and over and over again. with only later levels just throwing more challenges on top of the ones you have to do in order to leave the room. This does not make the game more fun or complex, it just makes it more frustrating. Also adding into the chore is that your health is randomly generated each time you enter a room. So, regardless of how far you are into the game, things like powering up your health or your character doesn't really seem to matter. There is no real feeling of progression because all these stats are always reset every time you step into a room, and it just makes this tedious feeling all the more the same. Oh, and if you're wondering about the combat, it's pretty simple. It's just basically jabbing on the right analog stick in order for your character to punch in a certain direction or throw things in a certain direction. It's not very innovative, and there's no defensive moves. I can't like jump out of the way or block or anything like that. So it just really gets more tedious and boring. I did not finish Grabbed by the Ghoulies. I only got to about 3/4 of the way through this game and I was like, screw it. I'm about to fall asleep. This game is boring me to tears. And that's what this game is. It's tediously boring. It's not broken. It's just dull. And because it's just so dull, it's a big chore to try to get through. If you bought the Rare Replay Collection and are wondering if you should play this game, my advice is don't. Skip over this one unless you just gotta try all the games in the collection, because this one's probably the dullest game there is. Gunfight might be the most broken in my opinion, but Grabbed by the Ghoulies is definitely probably the most dull. I only give it a 2 out of 5, and I believe I'm being generous. Anyways, that's all for today. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. I love hearing from people who watch my videos. This is Tommy the Keyblade Master signing out.